Hi folks, and welcome to Patricio International Variety Show. Today's is going to be a special show. We're going to feature a electric vehicle, something that I have personal interest in. I'm really proud to have Mike Fitzsimmons on. And how do you do, Mike? He's the fellow who I found here in Nashville who has this three-wheel contraption, and it's wonderful. Mike, tell us a little bit about this tricycle?
Yeah. Well, I'm using this trike to commute to work. I've been riding for a while a normal bike. Got the trike mainly for my girlfriend and also my daughter to ride along with me, and they couldn't keep up, so I decided to electrify it.
Nice.
Once it was electrified, I found that it's really great on hills and makes me get to work a little bit drier on a hot summer day. So
yeah.
I've been riding it to work.
Is it ride like a regular bike? I mean, you pedal it.
It's a lot more comfortable. It's like a moving easy chair. It's like a lawn chair with wheels. Yeah. It's the same amount of exercise if you don't use a motor as a regular bike, but it's just a lot more comfortable.
Is there a way that you can disconnect the motor so it doesn't drag?
It freewheels, so when it's not turning, there's very little drag. It's not zero drag, but very little.
So this is really high tech, Mike. Where did you find this bike?
I bought the bike on eBay.
What is a bicycle like this without the motor and the electronics cost?
It's $1,100 or $1,200. If you get a great deal on eBay, you might be able to get it for less, but without the motor, and then about $300 for the motor.
Wow.
Something he bought for himself.
The particular motor is out of they don't make it any longer, right? But
I understand it's been discontinued, but
yeah.
but there still are some floating around.
Yeah.
And there are some similar systems around too.
Right. It's a great looking system. So how fast can you go on it?
It's actually limited on purpose to about 20 miles an hour.
But
and the reason for that, in most states, if you keep it under 20 miles an hour, you don't have to register as anything other than a bicycle. So
yeah. So
it's actually geared so it doesn't go over 20 miles an hour.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about first of all, can you sit in it and show us how it works?
If I don't get tangled up.
Sure. Okay, so you step in the front. Oh, I see.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's how you sit in it. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool, folks, huh?
I really wanted to do this from here because it's a lot more comfortable than that chair is.
Yeah, because it's like leaning back, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the head thing, where your head is, can you go back farther, or?
No, this is far enough. If you want to be up, you want to have it supported where you can see where you're going.
Gotcha. And you developed that and made that all, huh?
Well, I changed the seat. I'm fixing to do some work. Put a suspension on the front, and I needed the old seat was in the way. Oh, the old seat was a suspension seat, a web type lawn, really like a lawn chair.
Oh yeah.
And it was just in the way, so I built this seat to take its place.
Okay, so you point out how this chain works and everything, how it goes down and comes back up. Is there a sprocket between them, or what?
Well, there's an idler back up underneath the seat to just control the chain. With this long a chain, it'll flop if you don't have some sort of control. So there's an idler back up underneath the seat down here.
Let's see an idler.
So the chain crosses and then goes.
Oh, I see. There's a chain crisscrosses back in here, and then it comes back up to a derailleur. So you have 10 speeds, or how many speeds do you have on this bike?
This particular hub has 5 in the back and 3 up here, so it's 15.
Okay.
And it's because I happen to have a 5-speed hub around that I put the motor on. Okay. The bike originally had 8 speeds back there, so it was a 24-speed, but it didn't work with the motor.
All right. And then this unit here is a battery pack.
Yeah, it's a 24-volt.
24-volt.
10-amp-hour battery pack.
It had a green light. Oh, here's the green light here.
Yeah,
and that's a controller unit that when he throttles it, which he has a thumb throttle, and it will take off, and it powers it. And this, of course, is the motor back here and the chain drive, which drives a deal that wraps around the spokes of the hub, is what it does.
Yeah, it clamps to the spokes. And
that's located right down here. And so the motor spins a gear that turns the hub through the spokes. It's incredible, folks.
So it's all independent of the pedal drive. So when you're riding it like a regular bike, you can just not apply power, and it's just like riding it without the motor on it.
That is
Except
fantastic,
for the weight.
right? Well, when I saw this bike, folks, I thought, my God, I got to get this guy on my show. You know, I'm so excited about this bike, and also we have other guests who are going to be coming on with other electric vehicles too. And the really interesting thing was, not only is it a really cool bike and tricycle, but it's also electric powered, and that's what Patricio is all about. If you saw my other shows, tell us about this seat. You designed and built this seat.
Yeah, it's just from a couple of strips of plywood that that fit my back.
And it has a hinge on it.
Yeah, it makes it easier to get in and out of doors, as you saw when we
yeah,
came
so
in
you can
there.
fold it down. Let's see if we can get a look at that electric motor out here. Maybe you can explain some of that on it.
Okay. Well, the motor's very typical of what's used on. We were talking earlier about what's used on scooters, and it's very typical of what's used on a scooter. It's actually made by Curie, and that's the company that makes iZip and a lot of the electric scooters.
Nice.
They've got a special adapter. This from here on, it's a special adapter for a bicycle. Mm-hmm. Pretty much will fit on any bike that has the right number of spokes. It's a 36-spoke hub.
Oh, I see. Well, I did talk with those guys, and they're no longer doing this type of unit, but they are doing a hub unit, like what I had on my bicycle. And incidentally, they might sponsor one of our shows by donating a unit for my new bike. Yeah, it's a lot cooler Strand Cruiser type thing. Okay, let me see. Tell me more about the bike.
The hub unit can be used on a bike like this too. Obviously, you don't have to have that type of motor.
But you do have to have the right number of spokes.
Well, with the hub motor, you know.
Oh, a hub motor, right? Yeah,
it'll go in the core there. For this bike, you'll have to have one. I think your bike had a hub motor in the front.
It did.
You'll have to have a special one that fits the rear hub that allows you to have a gear on it.
And what do you bolt the gears right onto the hub unit?
It's made to put a gear cluster on it.
The ones on eBay are interesting too because they have in the front has a ratcheting thing like in the back, you know, like. So in other words, they put a chain drive with a motor like that onto it to pull the sprocket in the front to drive the bike. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting too.
You can actually get away with a smaller motor when you're doing that because you're taking it through the transmission. You're taking the power through the gears that you're pedaling, so you can actually get by with less power.
And you know the funny thing is they're putting 36 volts and 48 volt units. This is only a 24.
It's a 24 volt. It's a 450 watt motor, but it's still that's more power than Lance Armstrong puts out. So so that's enough to get you up a hill.
But well, folks, the really cool thing about this is we don't have to give our money to people in foreign countries that we've contracted to supply our gas and oil and stuff with. I'd really like to see America get away from gas and oil and go to electric. What the heck? That was one of our first cars in the world was electric, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
And of course, the motor scooters and cycles that are all out there now, it's going to be a wonderful thing, man, in the future. I believe that we're all going to be driving electric vehicles very shortly here. I'm praying that we do.
It's got a pretty good range as it is. And the nice thing about electric is that the infrastructure is there to recharge almost anywhere.
Right, it's not like hydrogen or...
Yeah, so I can just plug it in where I park if I need to, although it's got I'm riding about 11 miles each way to work, and it's got enough juice to last me 22 miles round trip. I don't even bother to recharge it at work. So.
You don't?
No.
But most people could drive a contraption like this or a bicycle to work, electric powered bike, and then charge it while they're at work and ride it back home.
I feel safer because cars will notice you. I think a normal bike they don't maybe notice, and this bike, you know, they do a double take and they'll steer clear hopefully.
Do you ever have to put flashers or any of that stuff?
I have a flasher on the back that I use. Yeah.
I see.
Too much.
Well, will you come back and show us some more, especially if you upgrade your motor?
Sure thing.
And you're talking about upgrading the motor too, right?
Well, possibly so. The next thing I'm going to do is add a suspension in the front, but that's a bit of a project, so we'll see how that goes.
Mike Fitzsimmons, engineer. Nice to have you on the show.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.